boost. You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, stop unfriend me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up on the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's dude.
Hey, Hog Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at the DUM Show and his website. Yeah, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. What are we?
Percival Flag Company, folks. It's Red Friday. Celebrate all troops that are deployed overseas with an American wooden flag. Buy pfcflags.com. Stop on by and see them if you would not mind. Folks, it's going to be a special night tonight. I'm skipping the Red Friday. Well, are we going to do the Red Friday? Should I?
It's tradition.
Is it really a tradition? You're kidding me. I don't think it's a tradition. I need a vote. I need a panel vote. Are we doing the Red Friday thing or not?
I vote yes.
Spit it out. Oh, Lord.
Yep.
You couldn't have. Why didn't you say no? Now I got to find it.
That's why you didn't want to do it.
You should have put it up for a vote then.
That's why I didn't want to do it. Damn it! All right, hold on, here it
You
is.
should have just said that in the first place.
Well, I figured my team would freaking know. I mean, come on, I wasn't ready. Here we go.
We're slow
Freaking
learners.
mind
shit.
readers, people.
Let's see. I'm not a freaking mind reader here, people.
Throw me a bone.
No, he really is quite astute little shit. I am trying to kill him.
It's Red Friday, RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. A movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to DUMShow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
Dude, Mike's not wearing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike was here. We're gonna kick him out. He's wearing a blue shirt, so he can't. Nobody gave it. He didn't get the memo. It's not his fault, folks. Mike Barron. This is kind of a cool thing for Olivia and I, because as most of you know, I ran that little podcast called the Nerd Fat Podcast back in the day, which had a lot to do with comic books and movies and nerddom and all that other stuff. So I got to give Mike credit. Mike walked in here. He had no idea what he was walking into. In fact, I said, "Hey, do you follow the show?" And he's like, "No." I said, "Do you know what we do here?" He's like, "No." And I said, "Have you ever seen it?" He's like, "No." And I said, "You sound perfect. You sound like a great guest." I mean, he's ready. He has no idea. I mean, talk about courage. He's walking into a buzzsaw. But Mike reached out to me in regard, or one of his people did, or I don't know what happened. Mike, did you reach out to me, or was it one of your people?
It was me. I think it was
me. All right. So reached out, and of course, you know, here I am. I get a lot of stuff, right? I have guys who are like, "Dude, I work for the FBI, and I've got code word clearance, and you know, I've got Eisenhower's tapes," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Or I have UFO evidence, or you know, I know where Gotti's buried, or I have, you know, G. Gordon Liddy's dress and all this other stuff. And of course, I just let these people, you know, roll off the back like water. But when I hear Punisher and I hear comic book, immediately I'm like, I've got a Punisher. I've got a Punisher tattoo. You know, I'm kind of like, wait a second, let's find out.
That's my vibe right there. Yeah.
Right. So I immediately start doing research on Mike. And of course, not only am I doing surface level research, I'm going in depth, and I'm like, okay, is this guy a nutter? And I'm like, oh my God, he's credible. So I say, send me a few books, you know, let's go ahead and begin the conversation. I put him off like 2.5 months because nothing worked out. It was always some sort of kerfuffle going on. And then I started, researching his story. I listened to, no offense, and I'm not trying to be rude to anybody. I love all podcasts that try to do this. It's hard work. But you were on a podcast, I'm like, oh my God, it's like pulling teeth. Just ask him tough questions or ask him something with some bone on it. So I'm like, I got to get this guy on here because I got a million questions. I'm going to go through and let Mike talk, obviously, in a few, and we're all going to kind of do a roundtable. But I want to show you a little bit about what he's done and what he's created. This guy is a living legend, and he's going to tell you he's not. But there are multifaceted pieces to a comic book. And not only do you have the conceptual design, not only do you have the inkers, not only do you actually have the artists themselves, the writers, all of this is incredibly detailed, incredibly difficult. And it really starts with the writer. He creates the image of the character in the mind's eye, and then ultimately the artists have to go ahead and recreate that with his guidance. To give you a little bit of a backstory on Mike, and he's going to be able to fill it. He was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, of all places. Graduated from the University of Wisconsin with a BA in political science. I already love this guy. We both majored in poli-sci. We're both poli-sci guys. So while he was in college, his aspirations of becoming a comic book artist were dashed when he was introduced to Steve Rude. Two formed a fast friendship, which led to the eventual creation of Nexus. Great comic. Baron is a prolific writer, having written stories for Marvel and DC, as I alluded to earlier, as well as many independent companies. Lifelong fan of Bruce Lee, also a good comic he worked on, and has a second-degree black belt in karate. Second degree.
Wow.
No, it's not. It's now fourth. It's now
degree.
fourth. This was written a few years ago, folks. What do you want? I didn't fact check it. Sorry.
Oh, Ethan's going to be bummed he's not here.
I know. My son is he's on the cusp of his
Becoming
black
a
belt.
Black belt.
Moving. What's that?
Congratulations to it.
Yeah, you too, man. I mean, that's a lifelong endeavor. Baron and Rude's first comics creation was a series of short stories detailing the adventures of post-apocalyptic encyclopedia salesmen. The series would eventually see print in Pacific Comics' Vanguard anthology series. However, it was initially rejected by Capital Comics, who instead asked the creators to come up with a superhero title instead. They came up with Nexus, and the rest is history. Baron went on to create the Badger series for Capital as well. Both properties were purchased by First Comics when Capital stopped publishing. And Baron stayed with Nexus and Badger for many years, writing every issue up to their cancellation when First folded in the early 90s. Baron has since written lengthy runs of Punisher for Marvel and Flash for DC. He is currently taking a break from steady comic writing, but that's not true because we're going to talk about it tonight. While he finishes his second novel, this must be a little bit older there. Currently, he is working on crowdfunding. I'm going through this. Okay, the rest of it's basically not pertinent. Let's get into the video real quick and see a little bit about Mike's works and what he has done, and then we can go into a few of his books and a little bit of the story of why he's here tonight and talk about his journey and what he's going through and working on right now. Watch this.
Beginning with issue number 1, Mike Baron wrote Marvel's The Punisher for over 5 years, approaching it as a straight crime comic, without any superheroes, aliens, or robots. Over the course of 60 issues, Baron elevated the gritty anti-hero into one of the most popular and enduring characters in the Marvel Comics universe.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike Baron is with us tonight. Mike, welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Good to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's start off with some basics. Now, you got me to read a little bit about who you are, but unfortunately, some of that was outdated. So keep us up to speed. What did we miss? What's going on currently? And we'll start there, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the books you're working on, and then some of the controversy that your books have created and people are throwing at you.
I was born in Madison, but I actually grew up in Mitchell, South Dakota. And that had a profound effect on my upbringing. Yeah, and that's where I fell in love with writing. And then we moved back to Madison for my senior year in high school. After I graduated from the University of Wisconsin, first job I got was smoking marijuana for the government. I moved to Boston to answer, because I heard there were these alternative news weeklies that would hire anybody who could string 3 words together. And I answered an ad in the back of the Boston Phoenix looking for volunteers to live on a hospital ward in Mattapan, smoke marijuana every day, and take a battery of tests. It was just like college. And when I got out, I wrote that up and I sold it to the Boston Phoenix, and that's how I got into journalism. Not long after that, they hired me to be their music editor. I've always loved music, and in fact, we saw a band last night. We go out night after night to hear live music. It was my job to go out and listen to the musicians, talk to them, occasionally reviewing some records, but it was a great job. I moved back to Madison, and I was working at an insurance company when I got a phone call from an editor who said, "There's some guy down here trying to sell us his art. You should give him a call." And that's how I met Steve Rude. And I said, "Dude, what do you want to do?" He said, "Well, I want to do comics, but I can't write. What do you want to do?" And we were in the right place at the right time, because Capital City Distribution, the second largest distributor of comics in the world at the time, decided to publish their own books. And when they said they wanted a superhero, I went home and brainstormed Nexus. I drew the first 12 pages out by hand, which is how I wrote comics for 20 years. I drew each page out by hand, each panel. And wow. Even though I'm not a very good artist, everybody loved it because I'm clear enough to get my ideas across. It was an invaluable exercise. It taught me so many things: how much weight a page could bear, when to open it up, when to shut it down. But most importantly, it taught me to think about what happens next, which is the essential question in all fiction. What happens next? The reader has to care before he'll turn the page. Well, how do you make the reader care? There are an infinite number of ways to make the reader care. 3 of them are: 1, a fascinating personality, like Sherlock Holmes; 2, a fascinating situation, like Jurassic Park; 3, a seductive voice, like Neil Gaiman,
like
for
mine.
example.
Like mine. It's okay. It's okay.
No
You
doubt,
can say
no
it.
doubt.
Okay, thanks.
And on the basis of those two books, I started getting work with Marvel and DC. One reason is my editor at first, Mike Gold, moved to DC, and he asked me to write The Flash. And Carl Potts, whom I was aware of but didn't know, called me out of the blue and asked me to write The Punisher on the basis of The Badger. That's how I ended up writing those titles. And I love doing it. And they say, "Well, what's your favorite character you want to write?" My favorite characters are always my own, Nexus and Badger. They're still being published. I put out a Nexus graphic novel last year. Dark Horse is putting out a Nexus graphic novel next year that Kelsey Shannon has illustrated. Dude is putting out his own books. He said he would prefer to write his own. And if you follow both of us, the books have wildly different tones. You're looking at Thin Blue Line. That was our second crowdfunded book. And I wrote that because, like millions of Americans, I was watching TV during the summer of 2020 when mobs rioted throughout city after city, causing billions of dollars worth of damage, murdering hundreds of people, destroying small businesses, destroying the livelihoods of the people who could least afford to lose them, and always out front. There was some member of the Lick Spittle explaining that these were mostly peaceful riots. And then politicians started calling for defunding the police. And that my jaw hit the floor. My reaction was, what the fuck?
Right.
And I realized I had my next story. I had to write a story about 2 police officers trying to survive the night in a riot-torn city. And one of the reasons I wrote is I know a number of police officers, and the ones I know are civic-minded people who join the force to be a positive force in their community. We know there are bad cops. Everybody knows there are bad cops. The book isn't about them. We submitted it to every major publisher, and we got the response we expected, which was, "Fuck you, fuck the police." We always knew we were going to crowdfund it. And somehow Fox News heard about this, so they had me on their morning show, and the crowdfunding really took off. It was a big success. I'm very proud of that book. In fact, I've written a second one, and my artist, Joe Arnold, who is himself a full-time police officer, is already halfway through it. And it was after that I did Private American. The reason I did Private American was because I asked myself, what would Punisher be doing if I were writing him? And it seemed obvious to me that he would be on the southern border trying to stop human traffickers, fentanyl smugglers, and terrorists who are just pouring into our country and then being flown in the dark of night all over quietly, landing at midnight in cities all over the country. For what purpose? And none of these people, of course, were tested for COVID. Don't be silly. And they get a free phone, free housing, free health care. And now in New York, the mayor of New York is saying, can you take these refugees into your home now? We've
got too many.
Get right on that.
Can we no longer be a sanctuary city? Mike, listen, I don't mean to tell you what to do. You certainly can look any way you want. But my female viewers are like, we want to see his face. We want to see his face. His bill is too low. So are you gonna put it up a little bit and let them see who? There we go. All right, there you go. There's Mike. There's Mike. So
not a picture.
So Mike, here's the thing that I wanted to kind of touch base on more than anything was what happened. You get crowdfunded. How much? I think it was 100,000. Is that correct? It was 100,000.
About 130,000, and that was our best campaign.
130,000, and of course my picture is not doing well here. 130,000. And you raised, and then tell me what happened. What was the situation? What did the publishing companies do when you finally landed? How you're going to move forward with this? Just walk me through some of the cancel culture stuff that took place, so we can kind of walk through it together, if you don't mind. Go ahead.
Well, it wasn't too difficult with Thin Blue Line. The shit really didn't hit the fan until I did Private American, and that's when the Daily Kos, a far left hate site, ran an article headlined, "Mike Barron releases another racist AF comic book." The book had not been released yet, and nobody had read it. The person who wrote the article has never read anything I've written. I know that from reading her article. And they described the book as white police officers required to go into black neighborhoods and kill as many black people as possible, which is a complete fabrication. It has nothing to do with the book. In fact, the two police officers don't kill anyone in the book. We sent them a letter. Our lawyer sent them a letter just last week. Took a long time for it to get together, demanding a retraction and listing their errors, which are provable. But anybody who attempts to tell a heterodox story, and by that I mean a story that goes against the prevailing wisdom, can expect to be canceled. People have tried to cancel me the whole time. But now people are hip to cancel culture, and people are fighting back, and it's not working. Just look at Jason Aldean. They tried to cancel him, and as a result, his song shot up to #1.
Yeah, I've done a little work with that. You know what? I like to think that there's a lot of people who impacted Jason Aldean and what happened, but that video and that meme that we did, Mike, that outpaced Crowder, that outpaced Ben Shapiro. I had more traction on our post and video than all of those guys combined. I mean, it's incredible. It's up to 12 million now. And I've got another one going viral at this moment, which is now up to 500,000. And it's got like 20,000 comments on it. And that one's blowing minds away. This whole Aldean thing is interesting. It's a good point. So go ahead, finish your thoughts. And then we obviously will have some questions.
Well, I never set out to piss people off. As I say, as my stories choose me, I don't choose them. And that's why the first crowdfunded book we did was Florida Man, which is as apolitical as it gets. Its only purpose is to make you laugh, and you will laugh. And the one we're doing now, Bronze Star, is a supernatural Western. Has nothing to do with politics. There's nothing risible in it. And it came about because I asked Pat Broderick, one of the greatest artists who's ever worked in the field. I said, Pat, what do you want to draw? And he says, I want to draw a weird Western. So that's what I wrote. And that's what the current project is. And anybody who's seen his art has had their head explode because very few artists keep improving at his age. But this is the greatest work of his career. And you look at his black and white art, he doesn't just draw the characters up front. He draws the surroundings, the background, the middle background, and the horizon, the mountains and the horizon and the clouds above the mountains. He fills out every panel as realistically and stylishly as he can, and it's just mesmerizing. So we're offering an oversized black and white artist edition for this so you can see Pat's work uncolored. It looks great colored. The book's going to be fabulous. It's all done. It's probably going to the printer this month. But the black and white stuff is just, it will blow your mind for those who understand comic art. You've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up right now so people can see it. But before we do that, I want to show a quick video. I think this is Private American, and have you look at this. I know Olivia was reading the comic before we started, and she was diving into it. And of course, your comment was what, Liv, when you were talking about, well, I can see why that's getting canceled.
Well, yeah, I was reading through it, the first few pages, and I'm like, I don't see why it would have been canceled. And then I get to the part about why would the president allow this to happen?
Right.
And I'm like, now I understand why they tried to cancel it.
Right. But dude,
now I get it.
But what's great, Mike, and this is my immediate, when I first picked it up a couple months ago, my first thoughts were, okay, he's got a female president.
That's what I was like.
He's got a couple Mexican guys and African American guys, ex-military. I'm like, so they can't say it's racist. I mean, how can they? Or sexist? Because it's like, well, wait a second. The main protagonist in the book is Hispanic. Was that intentional? Did you do that as kind of a CYA, or did you do it as to say, okay,
A little bit.
I do that because the left is always setting out parameters and walls and rules and telling you what you're allowed to think. And there can be no limits on the human imagination. Every good writer, every great writer has to imagine every point of view. And just look at Shakespeare. He could imagine, should Shakespeare have been allowed to write Othello? The question is absurd on its face. He wrote so many diverse characters, Shylock the Jew, Danish royalty. He was not a Dane. Well, I think Julius Caesar, he was not Italian. But I'm not comparing myself to Shakespeare. I'm just saying that's an example of what a great writer can do. He can imagine every point of view and put it down in words that will live forever, which is why Shakespeare is still vital and important today. Yeah. And so to the left, who's always saying, well, that's cultural appropriation, I say, no, it's not. You're putting limits on the human imagination. There can be no limits on the human imagination. Everything they say is absurd and contradictory, like cultural appropriation. Should blacks and Inuits and Orientals be allowed to drive automobiles and use air conditioning? Isn't that cultural appropriation? It's silly when you examine it. It just falls apart.
Right. Well, and that's the whole thing. I think it's convenient when it is convenient. And it's easy for them to do that. But once there's some accountability that holds them accountable to their own standard, they immediately go, oh, no, it's okay. Like, take a look at Blackface, right? They're hitting Jason Aldean because he dressed up as a rapper for Halloween. Now, I grew up listening to Ice-T and NWA and Grandmaster Flash. If I wanted to dress up as a rapper, so be it. But it's interesting that, you've got people like Joy Behar who are dressing like that. You've got Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson. Right. It's like they're comedians. So
yeah, the great comedian Joy Behar.
Come on. Yeah. Let's watch this real quick. I want to cut this video so people and then I want to see where they can buy the book, because we want to make sure that we have people do that. Here's this.
America's southern border has become a war zone. Human traffickers, drug smugglers, and terrorists flow across the Rio Grande with impunity, secure in the knowledge that no one will stop them. A distant federal government lectures Americans on their privilege while punishing overworked Border Patrol agents who were helpless to stem the tidal wave of invaders and determined migrants. Second-generation Cuban-American Marcos Zamora is a military vet, more patriotic than most Americans. No longer able to ignore the chaos at his doorstep, he acts. Joined by his best friend Gus, they hit the border every night.
I freaking love the spaghetti western whistle in the
background. Whose voice is that?
That's Sam Elliott.
Wow.
No, it's not Sam Elliott. There's no way. Yeah. No, it doesn't, dude. I'm like, dude, I'm really good at that. I'm like, because I do a lot of voices. I'm like, that's not. We're watching a show with Sam Elliott right now. don't you one of you sons of bitches call me grandpa. That's Sam Elliott. All right, hold on, let's watch it. Right.
Saving lives while stopping violent drug cartels and other opportunists. The government reacts with fury at Marco's attempts to preserve American sovereignty, deploying the full might of...
Oh, he's got the "Don't Tread" on the front of his freaking his outfit. You see
that's what
he had the "Don't Tread" snake. Did you see that?
Yes.
Let's go back and see that. Hold on. Yes. That's great. You should have put a 13 stars on there and really watch him melt down.
Those attempts to preserve American sovereignty, deploying the full might of their enforcement agencies. But Marcos understands that the only thing the rich and powerful fear is bad publicity, and he records every encounter. Whoever he is, this private American must be stopped. Illustrated by Richard Bonk and written by Eisner winner Mike Barron, Private American is his version of Captain America, and maybe a little Punisher, taking part in this ongoing, violent, and very real battle of good versus evil in the war for American sovereignty. Grab your copy at theprivateamerican.com.
Dude, Mike, you've got to let me make a shirt. You have got to let me make a shirt of that. And if I got to pay you royalties or something, I don't care. I'll give you all the proceeds. But all right, so this book
looks awesome. Yeah.
Right. We're going to open up to questions. I want everyone to get a chance. I've kind of got us into it. But Olivia, Leeroy, Amy, any questions you have for Mike, let's throw it out there. And then obviously we'll just do a casual conversation and do what we do. Whoever wants to go. Who wants to go first?
Well, we actually have a question from a viewer, listener, James Cote, I think that's how you say his name, would like to know what your shirt says.
Do you speak Japanese kanji, katakana?
I don't know. That was the question.
Yeah, Mike, what's your shirt? Is it a Voltron? What the hell is it? Let me see. Oh, okay. So what you have no idea what it says. Mike can't hear you. Try again.
Sound.
Your sound?
Did you turn down?
He unplugged his mic when he came up. Hold on. He's okay. I didn't turn it down.
He's fine.
He's getting it.
Yeah.
So what? It's okay. I knew what happened. So what's the shirt? What is it?
I have no idea. My wife Ann goes out. She brings home a dozen shirts a day. My closet is stuffed with shirts. If I had another shirt, the closet will explode.
All right. Well, I'm gonna send you a "Don't Unfriend Me" shirt, and I expect you to wear it. You know, fastidiously and quickly and with rapidity. Thank you very much, and get that on the next show. All right.
Yeah,
so
and I will send you a Private American shirt.
Dude, I will rock that. Let me sell them on the please. Let me sell them for you. Whatever I can do to help out.
We have a guy that's producing them. His name is Bobby Naklicki, and he's the head of Redneck Nation, and he also is the head of Redneck Records, which is a whole bunch of brand new country stars that are rising.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, even if I don't want anything, I'll just put your book on there. It can go directly to your site. I'll link it up for you. It's the least I can do to help you out.
I appreciate that,
brother. That's what we do. We take care of each other. We're Americans. All right. So who has a question in the? I mean, Olivia, Amy, Leeroy, go ahead. Leeroy wants. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, it seems like being the political science major that a lot of the influence for some of this is obviously, based on what's in the news, what's in the headlines and how that played out. And it's funny that, Hollywood can produce movies like 1984 or V for Vendetta, 300 or Schindler's List, and they always portray an oppressor and the oppressed, and everyone roots for the underdog without actually realizing how that applies to the political environment that we're watching play out. And I just absolutely love the idea that these comics it's almost like they can teach you something. I wanted to ask what is the what is the least and what is the most politically driven novels that you've written?
I have 18 novels in print, and I just finished the 19th. It's the number 10 in the biker series, the hard-boiled crime. My novels aren't that political, although my worldview necessarily creeps into the book. I have my own rules of writing. I formulated them. They work for me. They can work for others. The first rule is it's my job to entertain, and I never lose sight of that fact. It's not my job to lecture people or make a point or anything like that. I let people make up their minds for themselves. Entertainment is job one. Number two, show, don't tell. And that's just as important in straight prose as it is in a comic. Because you can say John was a son of a bitch, or you can say John crossed the street to kick a puppy. And the second one shows you that John's a prick without having to tell you. That's always more effective. And the third is to be original. And we all have unique experiences, and those of us who write necessarily bring our world experiences to that which it is that we write. So my biker series, who features a reformed motorcycle hoodlum who went to prison and found God and comes out to determine to turn his life around, he has a particular view of society. There are no lectures in the book, none whatsoever, but he takes a jaundiced eye to things like the "We Believe" signs. Like, he's dating this girl and her parents invite them over for dinner, and they get there and he sees the "We Believe" sign in their yard, and the novel just says, we believe that all humans are legal or whatever, that science is real. I just quoted the "We Believe" sign. That's it. There's no comment. All you got to do is mention that it's there. And that's about as political as it gets. Although this book, Hospital, that we're thinking about, is going to be a lot more political necessarily, because it's about a harrowing experience that was totally unnecessary. That was thrust from the top down by a tyrannical government that's completely out of touch with its people. They can't be trusted to tell the truth. And I think that many of these decisions that were made during the lockdowns, decisions by governors like Gretchen Whitmer to stay in your home and not leave, have nothing to do with science, but have to do with the fact that they're all petty dictators who love to push people around.
Peddlers in fear.
Yeah. Like Gavin Newsom.
Oh,
he's telling people to stay at home with their masks on while he dines at the French Laundry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
I have like a question and a comment. So I'm sort of embarrassed to admit this, I guess. I am not a comic book person. I don't know if that's shocking to anyone here. I've never read one, but I know. I like the comic based movies, but
That's okay. Don't try to qualify. Don't even try to save yourself. You're done.
I just have no. It's not. It just wasn't what I thought with. But look at big L.
It's hilarious how the tables have turned. You're now a loser if you haven't read a comic book. Go figure.
Right.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But my son. Well, I was gonna say my son is 9. And I'm always looking for things for him to read. Is this something that would be good for a 9-year-old boy?
Absolutely.
He loved
Absolutely. The works of Carl Barks, who created Uncle Scrooge. Uncle Scrooge comics from the 50s and 60s are the greatest comics ever written.
Yeah.
They're entirely wholesome. He's a master artist and a master storyteller. Not a wasted picture or word in anything he does. And the stories are real. They have depth, and the personalities are consistent and great and surprising. He wrote Donald Duck and his 3 nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and Uncle Scrooge, and Gyro Gearloose.
Yes. Yes.
And then there was some character that was a Lucky Duck. Oh, it was, I forget his name. But anyhow,
crap. I got, you know, what's funny, Mike, is that is the comic that I stopped buying grocery store brands because of the UPC value. That's when Wizards of the Coast and stuff started to get created. Now, later, after 1950s and such, but they would reprint these comics. And I remember doing the Scrooge series and buying that from the grocery store. And then when I got home, I wanted to price out what it was worth. And I went into my comic guide, and it's like, if it doesn't have a UPC because grocery stores didn't, because it wasn't sold for a verified comic store, it was worthless. And I'm like, Mom, we got to find a comic store. And then my days of collecting comics the right way with acid-free boards and plastic, coverings and treating them like they were, something that came down from Mount Sinai began. So it's interesting that you mentioned that.
Well, his works are collected in many hardbound volumes, and you can't go wrong. They're completely wholesome. They teach life lessons. I think they're the greatest comics ever done.
So if you were to Well, let's get. We have a ton of questions. People are really interested. So Liv, let's start firing them off. Well, let's give Liv a couple minutes to fire these off.
Okay. Well, I actually have a question.
You can't ask a question. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry. Go ahead, honey.
You're on fire tonight.
Fuego.
I am wondering, who is your favorite character and favorite book you've ever written?
It would have to be Badger or Nexus. I'm gearing up for a big Badger graphic novel next year. It's mostly written. But, I don't own the Badger. When we were young and stupid, we signed the rights away. The Badger is owned by Ken Levin, who's the publisher of First Comics. The only reason that Steve Rude and I own Nexus is because Mike Richardson, the head of Dark Horse, returned the copyright and trademark to us in an unprecedented act of generosity I don't think has ever been repeated.
Which one, out of all the characters, Mike, which one most reflects you? And that could be posthumous from a certain event, or it could be, predicated upon a certain time in your life. If you want to give us, a stagnated review of your life. When I was 20, I was this. When I was 40, I was this. And when I'm a young, spry age of 57 now, you can do that too. And I'm sucking up a little bit.
Well, they're not autobiographical, but I would say that certain issues of the Badger reflect my id, because that's the Badger's purpose. And I'll send you a panel right now on Facebook.
Please do. Yeah, send it to me by email. Send it to me however you want. And you need to send me an autographed book if you don't mind. I would love to get it on the show.
Send me your address. I'll send you a bunch of books.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
Ethan would love to read them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just love memorabilia for the show. No, Leeroy, you don't get anything.
Man.
You're in timeout, Leeroy.
I want a cool background like Mike has behind me.
Wait a second.
That's just
some
awesome. Posters.
What's wrong with my background? I mean, what the hell's wrong with Amy? Seriously? Why? Is it because Benny Johnson stole my background that mine's no longer cool?
It's exactly why. No. Mine's never been cool, okay? I'm just looking for a cool
You're not a part of the cool kids club.
Here it is.
Okay, send it to me.
Send it to you on Facebook.
Oh, by Facebook Messenger? Okay, I'll go in and get it. Do me a favor. Go ahead, Liv, with some more questions. What do we got?
All right. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Kyung?
It's he and it's Kyung.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. Being that Marvel is part of Disney, how do you feel about that?
Oh, this is a good question.
Well, I think that they have a death wish. They've been circling the drain for years now. The books they put out, they forgot lesson number one. It's their job to entertain. That's why people go to movies. That's why they buy comics. They want to enter into a story that excites them. I had a great teacher once, and he said, you make them laugh a little bit, you make them cry a little bit, you scare the hell out of them, and that's entertainment. And in a nutshell, that is entertainment. But Marvel or DC don't do that anymore. They seem to have hired a bunch of people with no experience on how to entertain whatsoever, and they got a chip on their shoulder, and they think the book is their vehicle to get their point of view across. Yeah, they see that reflects a younger me. That's something I've often thought of in grocery stores.
Those are some pretty decent Jean-Claude Van Damme kicks there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty limber. Nowadays, if I don't stretch,
Bill Reinhold drew that. Bill Reinhold.
Yeah, I would pull my Laria. It seems like you can see so much Jim Lee in artists, and what's amazing is like I can look at comic books and see the Seth. Or the Jim Lee and the Todd McFarlane times, and then the Stephen Platt influence on, or Kirby, and you can just see the progression of art and how people, they don't copy each other, but they go, oh my gosh, that looks so good. I'm going to replicate that. And Stephen Platt was amazing. This guy could draw just about anything. He did a great series called Prophet, but I'm such a big fan of the skill set. And if I was anything, I would have been an inker, because I'm a pretty decent artist, but it's always looking at something and drawing it. I don't have that creative gene. When you're writing, I like to consider myself a little bit of a wordsmith. I recognize you used the word id correctly, or idiom in a sentence for short. I appreciate you very much. That's a man of dizzying intellect. But what is it as a writer that you think is your style? If you were to compare yourself to any other writer, who would it be, or who do you emulate?
I have to tell you that I strive to have no style whatsoever. I don't want people to think about my style when I'm telling a story, whether a comic or a novel. I want the story to exert its power over them. And I write in all sorts of voices. Sometimes I write in the first person. Sometimes I usually favor the third person. Forget the second person. Nobody likes the second person. Don't use it. But I do like a close personal point of view for whoever it is, whatever character I'm writing. I had a writer tell me once that whoever wants something the most owns the point of view. And I tell each chapter is told from one person's point of view. It's a close personal point of view, as opposed to the omniscient point of view, where you have the point of view jumping from person to person in the same chapter. And those stories can be very effective. They're usually better in the hands of somebody who writes monstrous tomes like James Michener or Kevin J. Anderson, who writes the Dune novels. Kevin does that all the time. A godlike point of view where he leaps from one character to another in a single chapter to let you know what they're thinking. If you don't know what you're doing, it's just going to be awkward and abrupt and jar you out of the story. But if you do, it's seamless. So that's it for my style. And I try to use as few words as possible to make my point. I just finished a novel. It was 80,000 words. It surprised me, but I went through it and I combed and whinnied and winnowed. I whinnied too. Got all the excess words I got out there. Stephen King says adjectives are not your friend, and he's right about that. Be careful of adjectives. If you use the right verb,
also be careful of being an asshole, because Stephen King is most assuredly one.
All right, never mind about that.
I said it. No, you know what? He can hit me for it. He banned me on Twitter. He hates me.
Well, he should keep his big mouth shut. I don't know why he does that. It's like so many of these actors. They just feel so strongly. They have to display their anus to their public. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of actors. I'm not going to go see their movie anymore. I'm not going to go see any more Will Smith after they slugged that guy at the Academy Awards.
Yeah,
Right.
Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Right.
Mike, real quick, you were telling a great story. My daughter came in. She goes, did he write the new Punisher Netflix series that was canceled, which is just unceremoniously bullshit. But can you tell everybody how that worked out for you in regards to characters and royalties and such?
Well, they used the character Microchip that I created, and it seemed he was born out of necessity. When Punisher was doing all this, I said he can't do this alone. At the very least, he's got to have technical support. He's got to have a guy to keep his van in tune, to make sure the hardware is cleaned, that he has the ammo, that he has the intelligence he needs to carry out the mission. And that's where Microchip came from. And that's the character that they used in both the movie with Ray Stevenson and the series with John Bernthal.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you giving a nod to intelligence support, Leeroy, and I appreciate it.
There's plenty of other
go.
questions.
Start throwing out questions,
Okay,
honey.
so Amy Stancombe, one of our favorite dummies. This is kind of a dummy insider.
Can you explain to Mike what dummies are so he doesn't think that we're like being belligerent and just obnoxious to our guests?
No, I get it. They're don't unfriend me.
Holy
Fans.
shit.
I don't have to do it.
Wow. It only took 3 years to find that one person who figured it out. You call your people dummies? There it is. Congratulations.
He's a smart guy.
Congratulations. Well done. But don't unfriend me. That's right. Love this guy. All right. So, Mike, go ahead. Or Olivia, go ahead.
So, a bit of an inside joke. Do you like pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
Yeah. This is the one question we must ask everybody. So be honest. This is for posterity. No, he says it's fascist.
Right answer.
I'm not saying it's fascist.
Am I the only one who likes pineapple on pizza here?
Yes.
No, there are millions, or they wouldn't make it.
I love it.
There are millions of people who like it, but usually those are the same people who also think that men are women and women are men. That's what I've understood. So,
all right, I've got more.
No, seriously, Liv, just go off. Let's get the viewers.
Do you attend the Fan Expo in Chicago every year?
I did for a number of years, but now because of my outlaw status, I get invited to very few conventions.
Where did the outlaw status come from? Is it from your most recent works, or you alluded to this a little bit, and I said I was going to ask you because I have to have my Joe Rogan moment with you. So what was it? How did you kind of get the excommunication status? What did you do? Did you flip the Pope's skirt up? What happened? What did you do?
Well, most of it is due to the fact that I am a conservative. And when people found out I was a conservative, I had lifelong friends cut me out, and people I barely knew calling me a Nazi and a white supremacist. And there was an incident on Twitter where somebody had run a picture of Gail Simone holding a bag of a basket full of fish. And the guy wrote, "What we need are more fat cat ladies writing comics." And I wrote, "They are." And I didn't mean to be nasty or snarky about it. It was a snarky comment, I admit it. But I'm not going to apologize for it. We've all said worse. But somebody brought it to Gail's attention, so she attacked by posting a long, heartfelt attack on me on both my Facebook page and hers, just as she blocked me. And because she had such a huge following throughout comics, I think that was the start of that.
So did work on Wonder Woman and other books, correct?
Well, I'd met Gail before. I thought we were friends. You know, I really didn't think much of it, but she apparently is a little thin-skinned.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing.
We're with you. That's how this show got started.
Yeah, it's exactly how it got started. Liv, go for it real quick. Walk Mike through that so he can understand.
So our ex-godparents of our children are very staunch liberals, and they found out I voted for Trump in 2016 and were not happy and started distancing themselves from us. They stopped buying the kids presents and just kind of stayed out of contact. And then right before the 2020 election, right after President Trump got COVID, she posted some horrible things.
You can
on
say
Facebook.
it. You can say it. We won't get banned anymore.
Yeah. He should take bleach. Barron needs to be, they should die. He needs to be an orphan. I mean, and she runs a multi-billion-dollar company that sells flavored coffees. And
it's Starbucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't know if we could say that.
It's either Seattle's Best, Dutch Brothers, or Starbucks. That's really all that's there.
But so all I said was, I thought you had a little more tact than that. That's all I said, and she banned me and stopped talking to the kids. And this cut us out of her life.
And this is the woman who read me the riot act and said, "You need to let your wife have an opinion."
Yeah, and I finally have an opinion, and she cuts me out of her life. So that's where this show went, because I was so pissed. I came downstairs just in tears and ranting, and Matt got on Facebook and just posted like a 30-minute video, and everyone's like, "Wow, you're really good at this," and there comes the show.
They were totally right. Amy, do you have a question, Ames?
I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I want to propose an idea to Mike for an upcoming. Is it a novel? I don't know. I don't even know the right
graphic novel, comic book, however you want to say it.
So I think it would be and this is, again, I'm a super fan of our own show, so I think it would be a really cool idea to do
a comic that a man actually dresses like a woman, and then that's his alter ego, and then he becomes a man during the day. Is that it?
I don't think so. No,
we could call it Dylan Mulvaney.
Hey.
Hi. Okay, go ahead, Ames.
Sunlight.
Right, don't go into the sunlight.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say, I think Matt's life should be an autobiography, but written in comic book form. And I think Mike is the person to maybe do that for you.
Maybe.
Come on. Nobody wants to read my stuff.
A comic book of Don't Unfriend.
Well, we can make
boring.
stuff up.
Well, no, that's what I was thinking.
I'm sure you've had a very exciting life.
It's been interesting.
No, you need to write a book, dear. You've been through a lot.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Here's the honest to God truth, and I'm not sucking up. And I love that, Amy, you brought it up. I get around people like Mike, and I just want to listen, right? I just want to, because you're extremely intelligent, and like a moth to a flame. I like to think that I'm pretty decent in the brain box, but most people who get that way by shutting up and listening to the people who are truly worldly. We did have one question. Do you have advice for new artists, whether inkers or whether it's a new type of drawing experience or whether they're learning on an iPad or charcoal. What is your feedback to young and inspiring comic book artists?
Well, I tell this to both artists and writers: carry a pad with you and a pen at all times, and write down anything that strikes you as interesting or ideas, and draw what you see. Draw what you see in front of you. Don't look at a comic and draw the super muscled guy in there. Draw what you see in front of you. Life drawing is very important. And that's my advice for everyone. Always carry a pen and pad at all times. I always have. And that's where my novels and my comics start. And when I just start collecting ideas, sometimes they're just a name. Sometimes it's just an idea. Names are very important. And I review rock and roll records. I still do it today for the free records. And I got one record where he's thanking everybody who helped him. Like, I want to thank this. One of the people that made this record possible was Evil Finkelstein. Evil Finkelstein.
I love it.
So now that's a character in one of my books.
Well, Mike, I've taken your... Oh, real quick. I was just going to say, carrying a pad with you. When I hit puberty, I started carrying a condom with me for the same exact reason. I wanted to become prolific and good at it. So thank you for acknowledging it. Leeroy, you get to have...
God, I have several more.
I know, but Leeroy Leeroy hasn't said... Why are we putting Leeroy in the corner? I mean, really, can we let a baby... Can we let baby out of the corner?
Up in the corner.
All right, we're letting baby out of the corner. Go ahead, Leeroy.
In terms of so with your repertoire, which series has been the most that kind of breaks with that idea of a Greek tragedy, right? Which one of those kind of, I don't know, stands alone, most apart from something like that?
It's gotta be anything
Badger.
Punisher, but yeah, Badger or Punisher.
Badger,
what is it about Badger
so many
specifically?
Great. Badger is a multiple personality, only one of whom is a costume crime fighter, and some of the stories are tragic. When we look into the reasons for why he is the way he is, because multiple personalities are always the result of horrific childhood trauma, and we touch on that on a couple issues. But the other part is that when Badger, the lighthearted stories are like a Tex Avery cartoon. I mean, he'll just say anything. He has no trigger. He's got no barriers. He'll say what's ever on his mind. It's just the pure id speaking like that. And so he gets to act out and do a lot of things that I would do if I were tasteless and fearless. And also, they're very funny. I mean, most of the Badger stories are very funny.
I am intrigued, and I definitely
so am I.
Pick up some copies. Yeah,
we'll share them when we get them for sure, and spread them out amongst the fans.
I'll send you some.
Picking up a copy, like, where do we buy these? Like, is there a link we can like? I don't know where to buy a comic book.
You can buy used Badgers in any decent comic book store, but I have all the issues, and I'll send you some.
But where can people go to buy some of the things that you have available, or how can people are going to want to?
All you got to do is go to Amazon and type in Mike Baron. That's one way to do it, and you'll get 22 pages. And another one is baroncomics.com. We just started a new page, baroncomics.com.
Yeah, link that, please, so I can, because I'm trying to get my son to read more, and I'm like, this might be my saving grace.
Oh, and that's such a great way to do it, right?
Right. That's why I'm like, he likes short stories. So I think a comic's good for. I know it's like so cheesy for me to say that. Like, I don't have the appreciation that you guys do, but I know my son would. He loves all this stuff. Sorry,
it worked. I just typed in baroncomics.com and they all popped up, and you can sign up there, and I think you can write us there too.
It's up there. I see it.
If you want to ask me, I'm on Twitter at Bloody Red Baron, and I'm on Facebook at The Comics and Novels of Mike Baron. Sign up there, send me a PM, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions. I have most of these books for sale, if anyone's interested, including the new crowdfunded stuff and most of my novels. I have a Badger novel. I have a Nexus novel. In fact, there are 2 Nexus novels. I just haven't published the second one yet.
They're going to want to buy stuff. So people are going to want to support the thin. I'm letting you know right now, the Thin Blue line. They're going to want to support that. So you're going to, this is where you get unselfish and say, or a little selfish actually, and say, all right, well, here's where you go to buy it. Private American is available too. I would assume digitally and in hard copy. So can they just go to your website or just do that at Amazon, right?
The best way to do that, Private American, is theprivateamerican.com. Theprivateamerican.com. And if you want Thin Blue Line, thinbluelinecomics.com. If you want Bronze Star, bronzestarcomic.com. Yeah, that's some of my Amazon releases.
Right. There's Thin Blue Line. I'm going to put these in the notes.
Can someone buy these in the Netherlands?
I don't know. I think there are digital issues.
Amazon, right through Amazon, you should be able to get it, right?
God, that looks good.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Wait, I want to show you guys the Thin Blue Line. It's Private American. What?
Theprivateamerican.com. Theprivateamerican.com.
I'm putting these in chat because 30,000 people will see this video over the next 30 days, and they'll, go through this after.
I'm just trying to early Christmas shop, and I'm like, this is great for my kid. I'm just going to buy him I'm going to talk to you, Matt, and tell me which series I should buy him.
Oh, I'll take care of you.
Uncle Scrooge.
All right, let's
point me in the right direction.
Yeah. Let's go to this real quick. This is a breakdown of Thin Blue Line, which I really thought was cool. Kind of give everyone the feel of it. Here it is. Yeah. This is really cool. I put all this together in 45 minutes, Mike. It's almost like I'm a pro. So here we go. Yeah, you should see what I could do with 4.5 seconds. Just ask my wife. Here we go.
Beginning with issue number 1. Mike Barron wrote Marvel's The Punisher for over 5 years, approaching it as a straight crime comic, without any superheroes, aliens, or robots. Over the course of 60 issues, Barron elevated the gritty anti-hero into one of the most popular and enduring characters in the Marvel Comics universe. Now he brings that same ultra-realistic intensity to his latest graphic novel, Thin Blue Line. In the middle of a long, hot summer, a police shooting ignites a city.
Aren't they always long and hot? Has anyone ever said, in a short, cold summer? I don't think I've ever heard that intro.
Scotland.
Right.
Yeah, right.
On the shores of Loch Shillan, we would have had a cold summer. It was Moneypenny.
Activists, opportunists, and provocateurs descend to riot, loot.
Hey, did you get that footage from Jason Aldean, I'm wondering?
Burn and kill. Thin Blue Line follows Officer Valeria Baca and her partner as their detail guarding the mayor turns into a battle for survival. Ride along on this harrowing tale of 2 brave law enforcement officers fighting for their community and their own survival in a world gone mad. Eisner winner Mike Barron has created an alarming tale that unflinchingly examines human fallibility on every level. Along with penciler Joe Arnold, himself a full-time police officer, and talented anchor Jeff Slemons, they've created a moving and entertaining story ripped straight from today's headlines. Thin Blue Line exposes the defund the police movement and its consequences for society.
That's some great artwork, man.
Yeah. It is.
It's really good. And I mean, people just don't understand. The inking on this is incredible. And when you don't need that much color to make it look like it has a ton of color like that, that just means it has great shadows, great depth. That is fantastic stuff. I love it.
But several comic book.
Oh, did you see the guy with the flak jacket on? It says "Blue Lives Don't Matter" in the crowd.
No, I didn't see that.
That's well done. It says right there in the lower corner.
Oh yeah,
I see it.
Blue lives don't matter. I'm just looking for you've got a Captain Anarchy right here. Looks like Captain America.
Something or other. Something.
You've got. Well, hold on a second. Look at all the symbology. You've got. You've got from Walking Dead. What's the guy's name?
The Bat, Lucille.
The Bat. Yeah, Lucille. Lucille's in there right there. I see that with that bat. Trying to think if I see anything else. Oh, Solid Snake is right here. There's the guy with a patch. Old Man Solid Snake from the video games. Looks like you got a little Mortal Kombat. I mean, you got some really cool references over here. These people look all. That's incredible. It's very, very good stuff.
Several comic book companies have refused to publish it. Now we're asking you to join the effort to distribute it independently and help support the men and women of law enforcement. Get your copy of the only graphic novel to offer an unflinching and not always flattering look at the men and women of law enforcement during a time when we need them the most. Not all heroes wear capes. It's a thin blue line between the rule of law and a world of chaos. Which side are you on? Thin Blue Line by Mike Barron.
I want to give it up to your media guy because I do media marketing, TV commercials, graphic design, video marketing, the whole works. And you can see some of my stuff. The fact that your video designer, your sound guy, put it in 5.1 surround sound, bravo. Most people put it in 2-channel on and ruin it on a computer. And in my headphones, man, the sirens went all the way around my head. And that is what I'm looking for, is quality. That's good stuff, buddy.
That's Chris Brawley. He manages all my campaigns. He's a videographer. He lives in Chattanooga. I would not be where I am without Chris.
Olivia has a couple more questions, and I want to get into some things off
actually.
comics. Yeah, Olivia's going to go. She has full reign. Olivia's,
Okay.
and then we got to get into some current event topics. I want to get his opinion. Mike, how much more time you got for us, or you got to go?
Well, I can stick around for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
All right, we're going to take you up on that because we're enjoying the conversation. So, Liv, go ahead.
All right. Are you a fan of the Walking Dead comics?
No, I've never watched it.
That was pretty.
I do like zombies, however.
On occasion. Okay, what's the next one?
When were Punisher and Nexus released?
Well, Nexus, the first issue was published in 1981. Punisher, the first issue he appeared in was a Spider-Man written by Jerry Conway. And I'm not sure when that was. It was in the 70s. And then in the 80s, I think the first series of his was written by Stephen Grant and illustrated by Mike Zeck. And it was a 4 or 5 issue limited series that took place in a prison. And then I wrote the first issue of his ongoing series, Punisher #1. I wrote Punisher #1 through Punisher #65. And then they started publishing Punisher War Journal simultaneously.
Yep.
And Carl, who asked me to write the Punisher, he wrote a number of those. And then later Chuck Dixon wrote issues of the Punisher. And Chuck's a very good writer and a friend of mine. And our Punishers are Kanan.
It was Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man 129, and I know this, February 1974. It was one of my highest, most valued books that I possessed. I owned X-Men #3 because #1 was like $11,000, but was a big X-Men fan. But Spidey was probably my second largest collection. A big Spider-Man fan. So Punisher is amazing.
All right.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Yeah,
Amy.
Go, Amy.
Sorry, I just want to know, Mike, what is your wife's favorite comics that obviously that you've written?
Anne can't read anything I wrote.
Oh,
It's too horrible. So I wrote a novel just for her. It's called Disco, and it's about a boy who trains a mongrel pup to be world disc dog champion. And it's a wonderful novel. It's currently out of print, but I have the whole thing on file. If you want to read it, I'll send it to you digitally.
Sure.
However, Anne supports me. She ran my first crowdfunding campaigns. She's an expert networker. She runs her own network group, and she has a shop too where she sells Hawaiian shirts. And she's always bringing shirts home for me, and that's where I got this shirt.
I love her. She sounds awesome. That's so
a great
sweet
story.
that you wrote a novel for her. That is like incredibly, like
Yeah, thanks a lot for ruining it for the rest of us, Mike. Real good. Thanks, buddy. God. Olivia's like, you don't write me a novel. I write a sonnet in my heart and soul every time I see thy face in the morning dew. Go ahead, Leeroy.
Do any of your characters bleed over into other series?
Oh, yes, they do. In fact, there's going to be crossover now between the Thin Blue Line people and the Private American people.
Nice.
Just to let everybody know, I will collect all the websites and I will go retroactively go back to this episode and paste it into this episode. It'll be in the description. So I'll have all those websites. And then obviously I think Mike and I will, if we can, is do another show that's a little bit more in depth at some point, and then that's when we can. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Liv, you've got 2 more, and then I got to get some politics in here.
2 more. Wow. Okay, I'll have to.
How many do you have?
Oh gosh, there's like.
All right, rapid
7.
fire. Mike,
Okay.
Mike, I need 10 words or less. Olivia, go.
What are your thoughts on the Hollywood writers' strike?
Don't care.
It's pretty simple.
That's
Go.
easy.
Next. Fire it off.
Have you ever thought about making a movie?
I think about it all the time, but unless you're a single-minded, ruthless individual, you just don't go make a movie. I've had nibbles. There's a possibility now. I'm working with some people now, but none of it's through Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood won't have a thing to do with me. They won't have a thing to do with James Woods. They won't have a thing to do with John Voight. Right. So we're going outside the Hollywood channels, and that's where it's happening.
Okay.
Roger that.
Do you still reside in Madison?
No, I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Whoa, Fort Collins, CSU Rams. Hello. We're Colorado people. I'm one of probably the biggest Colorado Avalanche fan that you've seen. And, we know we're CU Buff fans, but we love Fort Collins Rams. I had a buddy who used to play. He was a point guard for Ike Palmer, played for CSU. I don't know if you remember that name, but anyway, we're big fans. So.
All right. So the exact question is, how do you get your ideas in your sleep? Scenery, did you write everything down if you're sleeping? That was the exact question.
No, I subscribe to an idea service. Many of us do. It's very expensive, but it's worth it. Once a week, they'll send me some ideas.
Really?
No.
Really?
No,
he's like, no, I got you on that one.
The guy uses the word id in a sentence, and you guys think he has an idea service?
That's like going to it. That's from anywhere. Obviously, Thin Blue Line grew out of the riots of 2020. And Private American grew out of both my desire to revisit the Punisher and what's happening on the southern border.
Okay.
It's like saying Hugh Hefner has an escort service that he subscribes to. Come on, guys.
Right. Well, sometimes you get an itch to do a certain type of story, like a noir, which is a story that examines human frailty and is usually downbeat with anti-heroes. And you know what I'm talking about.
Leeroy's perfect for that. He would make a great case study.
The Big Sleep.
Wow.
Philip Marlowe, Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett. And so I started thinking, what would be a good theme for a noir story? And I have always been a jazz nut. So I wrote a story about a jazz musician who falls in love with the wrong dame. It takes place in the 60s. It's called Groovin' High, and I'm just looking for somebody to illustrate it.
I was so hoping that you could do like an LA crime or True Detective or, 1920s, 1930s, kind of a Slewfoot type detective story. I wish
I could. I don't go back that far, but you mentioned LA. You've all seen LA Confidential, right?
Sure. Yeah. Great movie. Yeah. One of the best.
Yeah. That's James Ellroy. He's a unique writer, unique voice. Nobody writes like him. Nobody can write like him. Each sentence is like a machine gun bullet. Bam, bam, bam.
Very purposeful. Yeah.
And L.A. Confidential is a great book, and so is The Big Nowhere. I think his last 5 books, he kind of lost it, but his early stuff is just fascinating.
Outstanding. Liv?
So Christine Klug, she just said, I'd love to buy some of your stuff and donate them for bid at our annual schools carnival next year, which raises money for student scholarships. I thought that was neat.
That's
so. Thank you, there's been a little chain going along, and this actually made me laugh. So somebody said that you should create a character named Cacula after our VP. And gets her superpowers from knee pads, and it's
whoa!
Down.
And her wait. So her gets her superpower from knee pads, and the Cape Crusader, the dynamic duo is her character alter ego is Camel Toe.
Oh my god!
No,
I don't. Mike.
I try not to do heavy-handed satire like that. I leave that to the political cartoonists. However,
or this show.
Yeah. You all notice President Mankiller in the first issue of Private American, and there's a very interesting development with her in the second issue. And I try not to finger any particular politician, but I do stuff that resonates. And the people say, oh, yeah, I know what he's doing here. I know where this comes from. But I don't have to draw somebody that looks just like a politician I want to make fun of. All I have to do is create a situation that resonates. And people recognize that, and they say, I'm glad somebody pointed this out. Like the emperor has no clothes.
Oh yeah, great story. Did a show on that. I'm going to send you that. I did a good show on the emperor has no clothes in regards to Biden. By the way, Kakala Harris, and she bores you with her superpower of Venn diagrams.
There you go.
I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah, she's horrible. Liv?
I think that's it for the questions
All
that
right.
I can see. But Amy Stamcombe had a really, really funny thing. She said, apparently, I need to write a novel for you titled "Ode to a Chicken Pot Pie."
Oh, that's right. Yeah, my wife cooks a killer chicken pot pie. The whole video, Mike. We got a lot to send each other. Is one of my first shows. Is a guest came on. She called me sexist, and my wife heard it in the kitchen, and I'm like, I'm a sexist. Are you kidding? So I did this little skit thing. It was all unplanned. It went well, but chicken pot pie became kind of the thing. And that's where Olivia gets her name, chicken pot pie.
I'm known as Pot Pie.
I do got to point out that for people who think I do political stuff, I don't. I really, my first order of business is to entertain, which brings us to Florida
Man. You said that was more of a comedy, right?
It's the funniest book you will ever read. I guarantee it. So many people have said things like, I had it on audio and I had to pull over to the side of the road. I was laughing so hard I couldn't see. My wife kicked me out of the bedroom because I was reading the book and I kept laughing so hard she didn't fall asleep. My wife is coming home right now, and with any luck, we'll have a cameo by her in just a few minutes.
Great. That'd be great.
I want to read that. That sounds great.
Yeah. So once again, where can we pick that up, Mike?
Oh, that's on Amazon. Just go to Florida Man Mike Barron, or just type in Mike Barron at the head of the Amazon thing, and Florida Man is the first thing that pops up. There are 3 novels out now, and I'm working on the 4th.
How long have you been married?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I've been married to Ann for 13 years.
Men
She's my third.
God.
Huh?
13. Sorry, the audio kicked in and overcut you. So 13 years you guys have been married. How long living in sin?
Oh, maybe a year.
Okay.
Well, she's my third wife. My first wife ended in divorce.
Attaboy.
My second wife died.
Oh,
And now I'm on my third. But this one's a keeper. She's the best of the lot.
that's dude.
Hang on. I'll see if I can get.
Do you have any children?
Let's see if I can get her up here. Hey, Ann!
All right, get her on here. That's what I need. Hey, Liv, get out of the kitchen.
She's not in the house
great,
yet.
isn't
She's probably still on the phone.
She can come in, whatever. Dude, I want to commend you. I think marriage is the greatest thing on planet Earth, and this whole disenfranchisement with the matriarch and the patriarchal society makes me want to be nauseous. I mean, the greatest contribution that a man and woman can make is to each other, and I commend you on having a great marriage. So good, and 3
Thank
of them.
you.
So good for you.
I always say how casually the modern liberal discards the hard-won wisdom of the ages.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
have any
because
children?
no kids. We got
No
dogs.
kids. That was smart. No wonder why you're so happy and youthful. No wonder why you look like a spring chicken. Here, watch this real quick before we get your wife on real quick. This is a minute and 49. This is the pot pie segment. Here you go.
All right.
Caroline's back. Men can't help being sarcastic when you're right, and they could be wrong. We'll wait for Mike. We'll wait for Mike. Mike's got. I'm playing this for you, Mike. So
That's
you gotta get your
very
He's finding
liberal.
his wife.
By the way, I just love him. He's so freaking
great,
awesome.
right?
I
Full
want to
of
read
energy.
comic books now too.
I am
super
an
smart.
instant fan, having
Yeah.
spoken to him. Such a good guy.
I know.
He
When
just
you sent
reached
the-
out, and I was like, I got to have this guy on. All right, Mike, are you ready? Are you going to leave it? Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Ann.
Hi.
Hi,
How are
Ann.
you? I like
Oh,
her.
you're so
She's
pretty,
very-
Ann. You're so gorgeous.
You're Mike.
We
Mike,
can't
you're
hear her.
Mike.
No
Mike.
doubt.
No sound. He's got to plug it. He's Mike.
All right.
You're
Say it again.
unplugged, Mike.
There it is. Hi, Ann.
Just came from one of my networking events.
We love all the shirts you buy your husband. We're very, very jealous of all the shirts you buy him.
They're
He
very
said he
jealous
needs
of
more
all the
shirts.
you buy your husband.
Yeah, like the one that's got on.
I love that.
Everything comes with goodwill.
You're doing a very good job, Ann. We love you.
Okay, baby. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, she's a doll.
She's
She's a
adorable.
doll.
All right, quickly going to play this here, Mike. Enjoy. Caroline's back. Men can't help being sarcastic when you're right, and they could be wrong. That's very liberal of you. Did you just call me a sexist? Oh, God. Oh. I want to go get my wife, but she's in the kitchen, so I can't get anyone to defend me. Please. Okay, I'm not even going to dignify that. That's really quite. Oh, Olivia was in the kitchen, Mike, and here she
really
comes.
Was.
She was
cooking dinner.
She was watching it in the kitchen.
While cooking dinner.
Here comes my wife. I'm going to get shit now. Thanks a lot, Caroline. Thanks. Now I'm in trouble. Now I'm getting. Come on, come here. Now I'm in trouble, Caroline. Thanks. Get over here.
I remember this.
This was great. Olivia was trying not to pee herself.
Yeah.
Gotta talk to her.
Oh, Carolyn, I'm pregnant barefoot cooking him some dinner. I'm going to bring it to him later, okay?
You bitch, get back in the kitchen and get me a bear. Go get me a pot pie. Now, woman. Don't make me tell you twice. How do you know a woman? What do you say to a woman with two black eyes? Nothing. You already done tell her twice. You don't need to tell her again.
You're in trouble now.
Oh no. That was.
I will take that pot pie though.
That was probably one of my most romantic nights. All right.
Yeah,
So
and pot pie became my nickname. I even have a pot pie shirt.
she does. Mike Donald Trump. Give me. Can he win in 2024?
Well, I think he can, and certainly I love his policies because he puts the American citizen first, and that's unheard of in the last half century. I wish he were more temperate, but he doesn't. That doesn't appear to be his nature.
No, I think we can pretty much roll the bones on that and say that that's not going to happen anytime soon. Leeroy, let's go ahead. We do rapid fire. We give 1 minute to everybody, and then we're going to pop smoke. Mike, we'll give you the final minute. Say what you want to say. Amy, you go first. Leeroy second. Olivia, then I'll go. Amy okay. Leeroy go first, then Olivia, then Amy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh God, Olivia
I'll go first.
For the love of God, Olivia, you go first, then I'll go, then Leeroy goes, then Amy goes. Go ahead, Liv.
All right. I just want to say thanks for coming on the show. It was really awesome meeting you, and you seem like a really cool guy. And I'm not a huge comic book person. I read Archie when I was growing up, and honestly, the real first comic book I read was Spider-Gwen. And I read
I don't let her read. So
and that's it. So I'm definitely interested in reading them and getting our son to read them because he reads Calvin and Hobbes and Captain Underpants and Dogman and Catboy, and he reads all that. Right. So we'll get him to read some of your stuff. But thank you for coming on.
Mike, I just want to say to you, man, that this is kind of I don't know, cathartic for me. The fact that, I had a podcast that just started taking off and I had to let go of it because of conflict of interest with Apple. And we were just starting to grow. And this was my dream to be able to speak to creative minds. And I love the fact that you came on. And dude, you were so patient. There were so many times we had to push and there were so many times we had to reschedule. And the fact that you never got upset, you were always willing. I commend you, man, and I thank you so much for being so affable in nature and good-humored, and thank you for shadowing our doorstep for sure.
Well, thank you for having me on, Matt.
You got it, sir. Leeroy, your go.
First of all, to echo everyone's sentiments, thank you so much for being on the show. It is an absolute pleasure to have met you. Absolutely, I'm going to pick up some of the work. It looks amazing. I do have a question. In terms of somebody who is a political science major, what is the first book that you would recommend to someone who would be able to walk into a Barnes & Noble or Amazon, wherever? What would be the first book, the most inspirational book that you would recommend to somebody having without having any knowledge of what their political background was prior.
Oh, jeez. Man.
I've got the answer if he doesn't.
The Secret Knowledge by David Mamet.
Holy shit.
Secret knowledge.
Son of a bitch. Dude, Dad? Unbelievable.
Brothers from another mother.
Unbelievable, man. And I was going to say 1984 would be a good one, too. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But now they're rewriting it to make it acceptable.
Of course they are. Yeah. Anything Orwell will pretty much just give you a glimpse into what we
I don't
are.
know how you humanize O'Brien, but sure, okay.
Well, good luck. That's all we got. Amy now. I'm sorry, Amy.
Amy's like, Amy, don't forget me.
Amy, go ahead, sister.
Just to, again, thank you for being on the show. This has been awesome for me because I have no knowledge of comic books, and like you have a lifelong fan right here now. Like
Thank you, Amy.
I really can't wait to go buy some stuff for our family. Really, I think my son's gonna love this. I think my daughter will be into it as well. Certain things she's very princess-like, so I don't know, but I'm just really excited, and I love the fact that you have just opened my eyes to a whole new world of not point of views necessarily, but just a whole new world of something cool and artistic to experience and to share with my kids and my family. And if you are ever in DC, please let us know.
Yeah.
We are going to dinner.
Dude, if you come to Maryland, DC, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and you don't let us know, we're going to be personally pissed. Yeah. You got to come over and let us cook you some. Let Olivia cook you some pot pie.
I'll cook you pot pie.
There you go.
I will.
All right, Mike. We always give the last minute to the guest, and it allows you to pretty much share anything you want to plug, anything you want to talk about. The mic is yours, sir.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really I have lots of specific advice for specific people, but in general, you can't go wrong if you always bring a hat.
That's true. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. That's fair enough.
I'm out of here.
I'm not going to argue. Hey, Mike, we'll talk soon, man. Thank you, brother. Great to see you so much. We'll wrap it up. But Mike, thank you for everything, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. Good night. Yeah. Man, what a great guest.
Fascinating guy.
Love him.
Everyone is saying like this is the best show ever.
Okay, easy. All right.
What a fascinating guy.
No, that's unbelievable. You know, like I said, when I found him, or he found me, I just didn't know anything about this guy. And I was just like, so I started researching. And of course, the first thing you're going to check is this guy a nutter, right? I'm not going to put on a nutter. I don't want nutters on.
Yeah, you've had some nutters contact you.
I've had some crazy sons of bitches call me. But this guy, he was so patient. And he's like sent me his books and I read them. And I was like, oh, God, this is great. And I tried to get him on, you guys know, several times, but it just didn't work out. And then, last week I said, dude, come hell or high water. I don't care what happens. Leeroy and Amy weren't here last week, so I can't have you on. But next week, I'm going to tell everyone, get their ass on. We're going to do the show. And super smart. And you know what? I saw his other podcast that he did. He's done quite a few for comic, but this is the first one talking about the cancel culture. We crushed it. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. It was absolutely, the other one was like really, like it reminded me of a root canal. I mean, and then waiting for the root canal for an hour before you get the root canal, and then realizing I just waited an hour and now I've got to get a root canal. It was just painful. And he is not. He just took over that entire podcast, and I wanted to make sure that we gave him that free reign to kind of talk about what he wants. Super smart guy. Fun.
Oh, he was a great guy.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I mean, where do we go from that? I guess we pop smoke. I mean, screw it.
Yeah, thanks for your patience with me, by the way, everybody, because, I dropped off for a little bit, but appreciate it.
Debbie said, see, Matt, you're growing. Embrace it. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
She means you're getting
Olivia
fatter.
Says every night.
Oh, Jesus,
yeah, in my pants. Listen, do we want to do a pop off the shirt moment? Is that what we want to do? Do we want to compare? Do you really want to do this? Because I'll rip this fucker off right here, and I know you won't. So you want to play that game?
Hell, I won't.
All right. Well,
No,
you've had
I vote no for this one.
You know what? I don't know if you would, but I know Amy sure wouldn't. Neither would Liv. So, no, I think a show like that is beneficial. I think having a guest that is magnetic in personality and can convey a thought should always be the leader of conversation. You know, and that's what I do love about Rogan is he lets his guests go, and I was very enjoyable for me. I had a blast, and it was just so fun listening to his viewpoints because his views aren't exactly. It's like here's the thing. What I found out is the most intelligent people who have kind of been radicalized on the right usually are because of radicalization from the left. It's an antithetical response to polar opposites. And the reason why I have become more polar is truly because of the left. And when I first started this, I wasn't bagging on the left that much. I was very conscientious. I was like leftists and progressive. Now I'm like, fuck it, Democrats. And I've become more polarized because of it. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
Well, you kind of have to with everything that's going on. I mean, you still go down the middle and you still call out the right.
Oh, I always go down the middle.
Breathing. Okay.
See, it was a good night at 2 o'clock in the morning last night. I'll tell you that much. Liv's blushing.
Oh my goodness.
Let me explain what I'm trying to say, and then I want to get your opinions. And then we're going to pop smoke on this. This guy named Robert Harrison. He just came on. He was just espousing just horrible stuff on the Jason Aldean post, calling people Nazis, calling people racist. So all I said is, you can tell your parents are proud with a clown face on him because, you know, I'm just poking him a little bit. And he goes, why would I have any question if I can have kids? And that's not what I asked. He said, my concern is that the degenerate followers of Jesus would allow an armed criminal to violently rape my daughters, then accuse them of being a murderer for not wanting to have a Christian pedophile's child, or a freeloading welfare recipient for keeping the rapist baby, not being able to afford it. People like you should do the world a favor and put a shotgun, he meant shotgun, in your mouth and pull the trigger. Not the same that self-harm and suicide is a good thing, but I can definitely see where it would come in handy and benefit the country greatly. And I said, okay, bro, you're a little too nuts for my taste. See ya. This happens on a daily basis. It's now happening on an hourly basis.
Well, that means you're going somewhere because the wackos are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, but where do we go from here as a society? How do you repair from this? Can you? Okay, here's my question for everybody, so we can pop smoke. I'm asking everybody. You got 1 minute, and then we're done. How is it possible for us to recuperate civility? What will it take? That's the question. And I need, a good minute of, is it a new president? Is it everyone kind of goes back to square one, or do we start seeing the dominoes fall? What is it going to take for America to get back to having discourse in this country that isn't toxic, that isn't abhorrent, and ultimately homicidal? Leeroy.
I actually wanted to look up a quick quote because something you just said sparked something, and it was a quote by Oscar Wilde. It said something about a man is least himself when you offer him a mask. And what he was basically saying is, if somebody can address somebody else anonymously, they will always tell you truly who they are. So to answer your question, I think a lot of that comes down to the amount of anonymity that rests behind Facebook and Twitter. Yes. As long as that exists, people will just tell you exactly who they are, right? And in that dude's case, he was clearly a nut job, and it was like clearly projecting. He's basically telling you who he is, and in fact, he might be suicidal himself.
Right. Now, which would be a travesty.
It actually would be. We don't want to see anybody do that.
No, that's horrible.
We have given, this show has been on for years now, and at the conclusion of every show, we put up help numbers to prevent exactly that from happening.
That's right.
Now, that being said, what Matt is talking about is how do we get things to be more civil again? I don't know if we can. I think the genie's out of that bottle because of the internet.
I think the Pandora's box definitely opened. I want to address that God comes to mind with me, but a healthy fear is necessary. And that's the one thing is you don't say anything to your neighbor because you're always afraid that you would see him the next day at work, but a healthy fear of what's next. And I think America has lost its moral compass because they're no longer afraid. They don't believe that there's anything after this and this mortal coil. And, you know, it's very Westworld-ish. If you could live in a world where everything was a robot that looked human, smelled human, felt human, and you could have the same experiences you have in the real world, but it's robots and it doesn't matter what you do, what person will you become? Which person will you be? That is where we're going. We're starting to see the defecation of our innermost lowest common denominator, and it's being just spewed all over social media. And I agree with you, Leeroy, wholeheartedly. I have to say this to Debbie. This is the second time I think I've stepped on Debbie's toes, and I don't want to do that because I love Debbie. I adore Debbie. She says, how do you not understand that you're growing? You have more trolls, which is actually great, and you had a writer on your show, which is just the beginning. I write a compliment of where you're going. That's it. Debbie, I knew that. I was being facetious. When you said growing, I'm a boy, okay? So when you said growing, I immediately made a penis comment in my head. And then Leeroy did too, and that's why he said I was fat. And
I just said you're fat.
Right, well, but then I was gonna tee off on that and go, speaking of fat, but I didn't. I moved it another way. I know. Debbie, we're not mad at you, and we love you, and we adore you, and I do understand what you were saying. Yes, I'm growing. I use the audience to make jokes, and that's what I do. I did it with him. I wanted to create levity. I want to make him feel comfortable. I don't do that a lot with guests, and I felt we could get the most out of Mike by making him laugh and smile and feel really comfortable, and he did loosen up tremendously by the end of the interview. So that's what I do. Debbie, I love you. Amy, go. What do we do to bring it back to mama?
I don't.
Oh,
I have a thought.
Society. How do we get society back on being civil again?
I know.
I think I do have an opinion on this. I think everyone needs, and excuse my French here, but I am going to use a cuss word because I think it's important to drive this point home. I think everyone needs to lighten the fuck up on both sides.
Amen.
Potty mouth.
You know.
Oh, earmuffs. Hold on.
It's like
next time you drop one of those, let us know. Seriously.
Well, I'm really tired of being like the, oh my gosh, yes, talking about like they're so on the left side, and it forces the people who are conservative to like be more conservative and like be more rigid. Yes, I find myself being that way all the time, and then I also find myself going like, why the fuck am I acting this way? I don't really give a fuck about this. Excuse my language again, I'm sorry. Like, it's not that important to me, but as someone with conservative value, is it fucking raining? I'm sorry.
Holy shit.
I know,
you're doing to me. There's a squirrel.
Boring.
Right.
Hold on a second. Megan, listen, you tell McCarthy to get his ass on my show. I know you guys donate a shit ton to him, and be a good cousin. I've met him twice now. I would really like to get him on my show. So I know he's always in Virginia. Get McCarthy on my show. I want to interview McCarthy. I've got a lot of questions for him, and he'll have I'll make him look better than he's ever looked before. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah. 100%.
That was my cousin, Megan.
My point is, I find myself doing the same things, buying into the far right, to the Fox News, and like being like, oh my gosh, we can't accept this. We have to be so rigid about everything. We can't even let the smallest thing blur the line. But that's not who I am as a person, and I don't want to be that person. I don't want my children to be that simple-minded either. I want them to I hope they have conservative values when they grow up. But I hope they also are open to hearing other point of views and saying like, that's clearly a joke, or is that going to affect my life in some way that's going to be permanent and devastating in either direction? I hope they are able to weigh the balances and the checks of it and to make their own decisions. And I find myself questioning it all the time. I have been a vast supporter of, sorry, I've been so sick. It's the allergies. Daily Wire. But the last 2 weeks, I can't
oh
really
my God,
stand
Matt
any
Walsh
of
is
them.
pissing me off.
I'm really
He's fucking
tired
pissing
of
me
it.
off.
I really love, what's his face?
Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro.
No, the other one.
Michael Knowles.
No,
Andrew
Crowder. I
Clavin.
love Crowder.
Oh, and you were talking about Daily
he's been
Wire.
driving me crazy too, and I really love him, and I think he has great points of views, and I think he's great at opening my mind of thinking differently. But also with him, I'm like, oh my golly, I am tired of attacking other people. We don't always know their motives. We don't always know where they're coming from, and it's easy to jump to, well, that's just how the left is, and I don't want to be that way, and I don't know. I'm tired of it all.
Do you think we're
Tough
becoming
line.
more that way? Do you think the
Yes.
site's becoming more that way?
No, not our site. No, 100% no. That's why I'm like,
Because
thankful
I
for this
hit
thing.
conservatives the other night pretty hard, and then I immediately then went after liberals, and they get upset. They're like, liberals are like, well, there's not a meme for Republicans, and I'm like, dude, it's because you guys are doing the dumbest shit this week. If you guys would stop doing dumb shit, I would hit there's plenty for me to hit conservatives on. I mean, can anyone name a piece of legislation that we've pushed through that's worthwhile since we've taken over the House? No, I can't.
No.
Nobody can. You guys have blocked a lot of stuff. That's great. You can play goalkeeper, but we did that for 8 years with Obama. I mean, we do need to pass some legislation. So I'm with you, Ames. I'm finding myself, even though I am right, I'm really trying to, like, this Donald Trump thing's hard for me, but I'm standing firm. The video I did today was very firm. I believe that he's going to get hit with obstruction on most of these cases. And people are going to have to realize that because he obstructed justice. Whether you want to agree with that or not, I really don't care. I can look at it and I can tell you that all the evidence that I'm seeing is they're going to hit him on obstruction hard.
We've said this numerous times before, though, is that you don't necessarily have to align yourself with a person in order to disagree with their policy. And in Donald Trump's case, we absolutely need to concede to hold him accountable for the things that he's done. But that doesn't mean that you're somehow giving up on the values of the Conservative Party. It's the exact opposite. It's because you value the values of the Conservative Party that you would want to say, look, what is good for one person needs to be the same for another.
Yeah.
And that's the fact.
Wouldn't it be nice? But here's the thing. There are no such, Olivia's next, and then we're done. There's no such thing as Republicans anymore, and there's no such thing as Democrats. There isn't. Republicans are in the minority in their own party, and Democrats are in the minority. You now have far right, which is kind of religious zealots, but instead of being religious, they're zealots on Trump. And then you've got this far left movement, which is extremely progressive, Saul Alinsky style, Hillary Clinton, ultra progressive style party. And the moderates are like, well, what do I do? Like, look at Tulsi Gabbard. Although her policies are extremely left, she's actually fairly moderate compared to what the rest of the party is now. I mean, she wants abortion to have limits. Oh my God, what a Nazi fascist she is, that she actually wants limits. Oh, she doesn't mind all guns being banned. She just wants some to be restricted. Oh, well, she's not good enough. You need to ban everything. It's ridiculous. And I don't understand what happened in society where all of a sudden we've come to assume that in the class, phylum, order, species of the animal kingdom, that political ideology defines us. Shouldn't it be your religion? Should it be your family? Shouldn't it be your scruples, your integrity, your honor? When did politics become such a big deal? In fact, we never used to be able to talk about this shit. Now it's all we talk about. Liv, what do you think?
So
solve it, Livia. Solve it.
Hopefully I can. So
pot pie.
Yeah. Just make everyone a pot pie and we'll all be happy.
Warm and moist.
So for the short term, I don't know if there's a way we can fix it, but thinking long term, it starts with parents, and it starts with kids and parents disciplining their kids and having structure in the home and having 2-parent households, whether that's a man and a woman or 2 men or 2 women, but having those 2 parents. And
what about a man and 2 women?
Sure, that works. Why
Amy.
not? I don't know if Jason would be too happy about that.
I'm sorry. What about 2 men and 2 women? I'm sorry, Leeroy. I didn't mean to leave you out. Right. Bring Jason too. Shit, we'll just bring everybody.
Men, 2 women
there
and
is
a baby.
no way.
My mom and dad are in town
want
right
2
now.
wives.
Oh no, I can. No, well, that's not true.
Sister wives.
Okay, so Liv, finish your statement because it was really good.
It starts with parents and it starts with kids. And these parents need to discipline their kids. And it all started with the no discipline and not telling. The new way to raise a child is we don't tell them no. And that's why we are where we are. And then these kids have walked all over their parents, and they're being able to do whatever they want and say whatever they want, and the no child left behind, and they're entitled, and they think they're going to come out of high school and make $500,000 a year at their first job and whine and cry when they don't. And it starts in the home with the parents disciplining and making sure that you are raising the best possible human beings to go out into the world to make it a better place.
That's good.
And if you're not doing your job as a parent. And we've both told our kids this. If you don't hate us at least once during your childhood, we are not doing our jobs as parents.
Yep.
I am your parent. I want to be your friend. I want you to like me. I want to be your best friend. But I'm your parent first.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
And
it's not required.
If you don't like that, I don't care. And that's kind of, it would be really nice if everyone had that mentality and that thought. But unfortunately, we don't. So.
Agreed.
How dare you?
So, first of all, I completely agree. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll put a bow on it and sign, seal, and deliver. But I want to tell you an interesting thing. Amy, you might want to hear this one. I know you're working and got stuff going on. I just wanted to tell it you so you could hear it. Do you guys know for the first time in almost 40 years, high school students are more likely to be conservative Republicans than liberals?
Holy shit.
No.
Seriously?
Is that
That's great.
Can you send me the link to that?
Yeah, well, I of course, it's just something I read this morning, but yes, I'll get it for you. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Because kids are now repudiating and rejecting liberal policies. And you can go in depth in this, but do you want to know why?
Yes.
Because they're trying, I know it's rhetorical, dramatic effect, bro, ratings. They're trying to, Leeroy, I think you and I finally get each other, because there were a lot of times in this show that we would get content. Shut up, Amy. Nobody likes you. So
I know
that Leeroy and I would step on each other, or we would get grumpy with each other because we didn't understand each other's sense of humor. But I think you and I are in a very good spot now, where you get my humor and I get yours, and there's no more. Hey, dude, are you fuck off, dude? Are you okay, Leeroy? Are you okay? So anyway, because we used to do that. We would do like I'd reach over and I'd grab his balls. You okay? How you doing, buddy? And then he reach over and grab mine, and Amy would have to be in the intermediary, and I'd be like, "You doing okay, big guy?" And those are his. So anyway, I think ultimately why is because they now have had a few years of this indoctrination to see that what they were told isn't true, and a lot of them did try possibly the other sex or possibly dabbling in other areas, and rejected it because it felt foreign to them, or it wasn't them. It was very similar to if you ask homosexuals, gays, lesbians, that when they tried to be straight or tried to be forced to be straight, it felt very foreign and very, very just odd to do so. Well, a lot of this pushing that you're seeing in the indoctrination in schools is the answer is, well, it's not that you're just possibly have ADD, or you're just a unique individual, or you're a little bit of a slow learner, or maybe you develop slowly, or you're just kind of a nerd or a dork who will grow out of it. It's no, you're gay, or no, you're lesbian, or no, you're trans. And they're starting
telling
to
people
reject.
that they're born in the wrong body.
Right. They're telling them all this shit.
Right.
And they're done with it. And that is the problem with liberal mentality and progressive thinking, is that there is an old adage. And the adage is this: when I was 18 to 21 years old, my parents were the dumbest people on the planet.
Yeah.
And then when I became 25, it's an amazing thing how much they learned in 4 years. So the same thing is true with liberals, is that at around the age of 30, 32, when the first baby comes and the marriage comes and the first house comes and the bills come, they realize this shit is mine and I don't want anyone to have it. And I'm not giving anyone anything because I earned it. That's why it's a young man's game, and they want to make it 16 years old. They want to open it up to felons. They want to open it up to illegals because they don't want to lose their 5 to 6 million people advantage that they have having more Democrats. But the true story is that they've lost almost 2 million Democrats over the last 2 years who have now become Republican or moderate or at least conservative. And the Republican Party is expanding their base across all parties and all facets. The Republicans have a really good shot to take the next 8 years. But this is where we need to shit or get off the pot, because if we don't respond to these kids, if we don't give them a viable option for president that can win and a House and a Senate that can be taken over, we are going to lose these kids to something else, some promises that Democrats are going to give them. So that's my thought on it, and we'll stop there. Does anyone else have anything else tonight?
Real quick.
At
the beginning of the show, I said that I had something that I wanted to discuss with Matt. I will, two things actually. I will likely not be on for a period of time. It'll probably be about 2 months. So I apologize to everyone who specifically tunes in to watch good old Leeroy get pounced by Matt.
We should see no drop off in our ratings.
And your bald
exactly.
head.
We should gain viewers.
And ask you to tell me what to say on the show so I sound like you.
Don't be rude.
So we should see an uptick. That'd be hilarious. All of a sudden, like the first night he's gone, we pop like 400 viewers, and we're like, Leeroy, guess what? We don't need you to come back anytime soon. Can you extend?
You just pay me for not being on.
Well, that would mean I'd have to pay you. That ain't gonna happen anytime soon, folks. Leeroy is an integral part of the show. He is a very good friend of mine, and I don't have many. I have acquaintances and people who I collect. But I don't have many very high quality friends, and the people on this panel and some of you viewers happen to be people I call close friends. So Leeroy, you're fine. Your seat will always be warm. We will cast a black ribbon over your banner, and when you can come home, actually a yellow ribbon, we'll tie it to my penis.
Aww.
And whenever you can come back, we would love to have you. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Namesake.
And then one last thing, just a quick reminder.
Jesus, Leeroy, you've got enough.
I said that after we popped smoke with this one, you guys need to stay on because I had a story for you.
Okay.
And you're going to love it.
We will stay on. Sorry.
Hey, my stuff isn't working over here, dear.
Sorry that I used the Lord's name in vain. I know why, because I haven't redirected the files. I will do that tomorrow and make sure it's done.
Because I wanted to play the Leeroy Jenkins thing one more time, but I can't.
Yeah.
I tried, Leeroy. I tried.
All right. It's all good.
I have no access anymore.
And a lot of things are changing. So I'm in the final interview stages with a job that is big. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a $100 million company, and I'd be running the national sales team. So that's a huge job. I would have regional managers, division managers, branch managers, sales. I mean, I have a big staff, and I haven't done that in a while, and it's something I know how to do. That's the shorthand, but it's going to create some flexibility. Olivia's going to have to run the board. I'll have to dial remote in, and we're all going to have to be flexible, but we're not going to let the show suffer. I think we've got something beautiful here. I think that we can continue to provide content that people enjoy, and if you guys will continue to support us, we'll continue to make it. So, James says, tie a yellow ribbon around your pot pie. That sounds fantastic. Amy, we're going to stay on. Love you. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Leeroy, you too.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I met with the CEO yesterday, and then I have to go in front of the entire executive, CFO, 2 CEOs, head of HR, and CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. And that'll be an hour-long panel. And then I'll have that's going to go fine. That doesn't bother me. And then I'll have a full 8-hour day with the entire team, going through corporate headquarters, meeting everybody so they can see that I don't have an elbow growing out of my forehead. And then I should have a JO in the bag. Leeroy, it's I could throw a rock at your house.
Wow. But you're not leaving here, right?
I don't know. I don't know yet. It depends. If they may want me. If they say yes. What did you say?
What? I said Liv just got her dream job.
Well, that's what we will have to discuss. And Liv's job and her happiness is important. But when I would potentially make 15 times more than her,
it kind of has precedence over mine.
Well, and I will say this: if you cannot sell your house and keep it and rent it, That's what you should
Not
do
with
right
VA,
now.
I can't. Not with a VA loan, I can't. So I will not say which company ever. In fact, I will never say that. I can't.
Just like I will never say where I'm working.
Yeah,
or
I won't do that. And the reason why I can't do that is because there's some very vindictive people out there, and I won't say where I work. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Amy at 1234 West Loges Lane.
Loges.
I work
all right.
in DC, obviously.
Right. She works on First Street. So you can see her anytime between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m.
I like
And if she's not there,
Amy. Fishnet.
Page her. All you got to do is like, strawberry. That's all you got to say. She'll come out. All right. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. Go over to the show at thedumshow.com. Go buy yourself a t-shirt, a hat. I want to thank our guest, Mike Barron. We'll rewatch the show. Good night. We're going to pop smoke, and then we'll stay around for us to have...
Megan, you need to come out sometime. Visit us,
Megan,
please.
talk to Kevin McCarthy. We love you, and we'll talk to you all soon. Here's the video, and then you guys stay on so we can all chat.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets. We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help, and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important. For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call